The title of this demonstration is Viewing a Resource Group Template, and you're going to do that, but these are really important and kind of fun, so I want to do a little more than that. I want to show you the basics of the tooling around templates.
I want to show you a few different ways that you can interact with deployment templates. These things to me are so critical and so valuable, and I would easily spend hours just sort of playing around with these, but it turns out I'm not allowed to do that during a demonstration. So I just want to give you just a quick touch on these points so you understand they're there and what they can do for you, and also how you can work with them. The concept of deployment templates has been sort of progressively integrated into the overall Azure experience, and through the current portal there's actually a lot that you can do, and then also there's an entire interface that's really designed to interact with and provide you with information on resources in this kind of templated format. And then beyond that, there's some great tooling actually in Visual Studio that you can use to create your own templates. And then finally, there's actually a whole host of third-party deployment templates that are not only out there, but are out there in forms whereby they are integrated quite nicely into the overall Azure experience. So we're going to take, within a fairly short demonstration, a look at all four of these points. Each one's going to be fairly quick. Okay, so right now I'm in the current portal and I've got my resource group. And I can go to an individual resource, and if I click on an individual resource, in this case I've clicked on the Ubuntu resource. If I go down here, I've got this automation script, and this is actually kind of cool. It's got a lot of different things, but the first thing that it does is it gives you the ability to view the template for this particular object, right? So this is actually the deployment template, and it's a fairly standard format. You've got input parameters, of which there are 57. I've got a number of different resources, and let's see, this is an awful lot. You wouldn't necessarily expect all these many things for a for a single virtual machine, but there you go. And these are all very generalized, but it's kind of neat. I can see the parameters file, and if I wanted to do this via, let's say, PowerShell, I would actually there's actually a PowerShell definition, and all of these you can download, right? So if I wanted to, say, take this template, download it, and do something with it, I can do that on an individual item. I can also do the same for a resource group in its entirety. So let's say you have a fairly complex lab environment that you've created manually, but you want to be able to recreate this through a template. Well, you can do that, although there are a few things, a few limitations, as you'll see when I pop this out here. It's going to generate the deployment script. Now, and notice it says that there's errors because there's a few things that currently it cannot generate the deployment template for. So virtual machine extensions and also some website related things. Not a huge deal, but in any case, you can see it kind of gives you the same basic idea. It gives you this ability to generate these and also do a few things with them. Now, in addition to that, as I mentioned, there's actually an interface. If you go to resources.azure.com and log in, and technically this is still in preview at the time of this recording, but it's been around for a while. I'm not even going to pretend to say how long, but a pretty cool capability. And what I can do is it's going to give me this hierarchy of objects that are part of my subscription. So I go in, I've got the Visual Studio Ultimate subscription. I go to my resource groups, I go to the demos resource group, and I can, for example, click on demos. And if I go over here to actions, one of the things I have is the ability to export the template. Now, if I go to read write, and by the way, if I go down here, this is my template. So this is really pretty much giving you the same kind of functionality, and I'm not going to scroll through here too much. right? But so you have a variety of ways, and these ways are evolving, a variety of ways to take something that you've already created and to generate a template so that you could then save it and you could redeploy it, again, maybe for test purposes, development purposes, or maybe even scale out purposes. So a lot of different things that you can do there with the templates that are your own. Now, in addition to that, you have the ability to actually deploy third-party community-built templates. So I want to just show you that really quickly. And it's a pretty cool little interface, and I'm not actually going to create anything with it, but you do some pretty cool stuff. So I'm going to go and do a search for Azure Quick Start templates. And I get this link to Azure Quick Start templates, and I get this kind of interesting interface. And let's say that I wanted to create something with SharePoint. So I'm going to say SharePoint. I'm not actually going to say it. I'm going to type it in. Well, I guess I said it too. All right. And these are community provided. And I'll show you. These are actually in GitHub. And you can go directly to GitHub and you can navigate through GitHub as well. And you get actually some pretty similar functionality that I'm going to show you, which is pretty cool. But this is a nice visual demonstration environment. So I've got 3 different versions, 2 by the same person. Now, if you go and do this right now, this may be different because, obviously it's going to change over time. All right, but let's say I just want to do subnet-driven deployment. Now, a couple different things that I have. First of all, this has a write-up. All right, it's going to show you all the different things. It's going to show you how to use it. Okay. And it also has a link over, as I give you a headache as I flip through there. You can actually go and discover more quick start templates. Let's put you back there. You can go over to GitHub. Also, I can deploy to Azure directly from here. So I click deploy to Azure, and it takes a moment. But it comes up, and you can see how much credit I have left there. All right, so here's what's a little bit different. So it's very similar to, say, a regular resource creation. You've got your blade here for creating the resource, but you have this parameters. And so these are all the parameters that were defined by the template. Oh, and by the way, you can actually edit the template. And there's the template, so if you wanted to modify it, I wouldn't necessarily do this because that's the whole point of getting it. I would download it separately and work with it. But pretty cool capability. All right, again, I know this is running a little bit long. So what I want to do now is just pop into Visual Studio and show you have the ability to create these from scratch. Now, the JSON behind these templates can be fairly complex, but there's some pretty simple to use tooling that makes it much easier if you wanted to create this from scratch to do this. And I definitely recommend Visual Studio. And I've got the Express edition of Visual Studio, so the free version that you're seeing now. This is available to anyone. And I'm going to go to New Project. And under New Project, I'm going to go to Cloud. And under Cloud, I'm going to go to Azure Resource Group. And Azure Resource Group, I'm just going to call this Deployment Demo. And can't spell or capitalize. Just fix that real quick. And OK. And by the way, you may have seen I did a similar demo to this earlier, pretty much the same demo. Let's say that I wanted to create a web app. And I hit OK. And that's going to create the JSON for a web app, which looks like it's hidden, but it's just over here. It actually creates the web app JSON and a parameters file for it. And here is the JSON that's created. Got parameters, not too many variables. Here's resources. The resource that I have here is Microsoft.web/server farms. That's actually what the plan is. It's called a service farm, or server farm, right? And then I've got the actual website. So I've got these 2 different things, and then it actually sets up the auto scale, which is a separate resource, and it sets up alert rules, and more alert rules, and more alert rules, etc. Okay, and that can be kind of hard to follow, so I can look at that and I can see on the JSON outline, I've got the different resources. And by the way, I can add a new resource very easily. Let's say I wanted a virtual machine, or I wanted a virtual network called VNet, and add it in. And now I've got a virtual network. So there's my VNet virtual network. Again, very short demonstration of this. So much that's here, so much capability. All right, but the moral of the story is if you've got existing resources, you can generate a deployment template either through and you can do it through the API as well, but you can do it through the current portal. You can do it through that resources interface. If you want to look at existing templates that are out there, and there's more and more all the time, just go do a search for Azure Quick Start templates. These are community provided, quick starts, not just for Windows, but for a variety of different Linux workloads as well. And then if you want to create it from scratch, you do have the ability to do so through Visual Studio.
Keep in mind that was a very basic demo, and by the time you view this video, there may likely be enhancements, particularly around the portal, in terms of the tooling that's available to help you develop and manage templates for resource groups.